So, welcome to Medical Inch Academy. I hope you guys have been doing well. So, we have been covering a lot of medical topics. For those guys who are new, this is a medical forum where we discuss various medical topics. So, a student reached out and told me that he would wish us to do a topic on red blood cell compatibility. And even in the background we can see we have a red blood cell. We have got a blood transfusion happening in the background. You can see here we've got a blood transfusion happening in the background, just to bring a lot of reasoning to our discussion today. So if you're new, please follow us in our channel. We are in YouTube. You can like and subscribe and share the link to various students and colleagues who are in medical field. Apart from that, we have covered various topics. We did a very big series on antibiotics and hypertension. So if you've never uh, watched our videos, you can go back and watch that series. So today we are going to have a discussion on how we do the red blood cell compatibility. We're going first to begin with the introduction, the key details that you have to know as a student, so that when that table is filled, you have the details with you. There are some key aspects that you have to know as a student, and once you know the key details, then it will become easy for you to fill the compatibility table. So we always come across these questions in our med-surg exams or in our NCLEX exams. So it's good. It's advantageous for you to have the knowledge when it comes to ABO compatibility. Now, before we begin, I believe you guys did this in physiology when you did the blood cell components. Even in high school, I believe you guys had the terms blood groups. So we know, all of us know, we should have the basics with us before we uh, go deep into knowing how this cross matching occurs. Now, number one, so the first detail here, as you can see in our screen, is that the antigens, before a reaction occurs, we know we always have an antigen and an antibody. So for a reaction to occur, we should have an antigen and an antibody. So in this topic of ours, what happens when transfusing red blood cells? There's always an antigen that is involved, and also an antibody involved. So the antigen are always the markers that are found on the red blood cells. So on the surface of red blood cells, we've got these markers which presents as antigen. But antibodies are always found in the plasma. We can call them the fighters that are found in the plasma. And what happens now? The antibodies will react with antigens when the antigens are not compatible, yeah, with the antibodies. Now, what you should know now, we can divide these blood types into four big broad category. But then again, we have got 8 categories of when it comes to blood type. But you have to know the basic 4. Now we've got 4 blood types. You have got blood type A, blood type B, blood type O, and blood type AB. So you have to know the difference. Now, when it comes to naming, the name is always given based on the antigen that the red blood cell presents. So, for instance, when you say blood type A, it means the red blood cells has got an antigen A on its surface. When I say blood type B, it means it's antigen B. Blood type O, it means that it has no. O, it can stand for 0 maybe. It means there's no antigen on the surface of the red blood cells. Yeah. When I say AB, it means it has got both antigen A and antigen B on the surface of the cell. Now, that being done or known, number 2, what you have to know is that every blood presents also with an antibody. For instance, if blood type A, we know we have got antigen A on the cell, but then on the antibody will work against antigen B, so there will be antibody B on the plasma. So antigen A on the red blood cells and antibody B in the plasma. So this antibody B is named antibody B because it's against antigen B. Anti means against. Anti means against. So anti B, it means it's against antigen B. So anti B is found on the plasma. So if you see blood type A, it means blood type A has got an A antigen on the red blood cells, and it has anti B. It has got antibody against antigen B in the plasma, anti-B. So this is what you have to know. So A presents A antigen and B antibody. So same applies to blood type B. It means it has got antigen B on the cell, whereas it has got A in the plasma. Remember, in our introduction, we said that the antigen is found on the cell, whereas the antibody is found in the plasma. So that's something that you have to know. Then when it comes to O, it means there's no antigen on the cell surface. Yeah, the red blood cells has no antigen. But in the plasma, you can find the antibody against antigen A and antigen B in the plasma. When it comes to AB, it has both antigen A and antigen B, but you will not find an antibody in its plasma. So that's why I've highlighted. So if you see blood type O, it means there's no antigen. Blood type O has no antigen, but blood type AB has no antibody. So that's the difference. So O, no antigen, and B, no antibody. AB, no antibody. That's why A is always regarded as a universal donor and AB as a universal recipient. I'm going to go deep on the specific universal donor and the specific universal recipient. So in the screen, you can see we have got a table. This is what I was trying to explain. Number one, if you see this table of ours, this is a diagram. On the upper surface, I've got the red blood cells, and on the lower, we've got the plasma. So one thing that I have to know is that the antigen is always found on the red blood cells. As you can see, the antigen is on the surface of the red blood cells, whereas the antibodies is found on the plasma. So that's number one. Number two, this table has got four broad category of the blood types. That's type A blood, type B blood, type AB, and type O. So that's number one. That's number two. Then other thing that you have to know. So in type A blood, it's the blood type is always named based on the antigen. So when I say blood type A, I mean that this blood contains the A antigen. When I say blood type B, it means they've got the B antigen. When I say blood type AB, it has got both A and B antigen. And blood type O, they have no antigen on the surface, as you can see in this diagram here. So in this diagram, the type A is denoted with a triangular diagram, while B with a square diagram. So if you see here, blood type A, it has got an A antigen on its surface, whereas in terms of the plasma, it contains an anti-B antibodies on the plasma. So this is blood type A. The A contains A antigen and anti-B antibodies. So this these antibodies here, they are against the B antigen. That's why they're called anti-B. Anti means against. Yeah, anti means against. Now, when you go type B, you can see the square diagram. So this square diagram represents the B antigen. So blood type B, it contains the B antigen on the red blood cell surface. Whereas when it comes to the plasma, it has got an antibody against antigen A. That's this called anti-A antibodies. Blood type AB, these ones here, they've got both the A antigen, which is represented by this triangular shape, and it also contains the B antigen, which is represented by the square shape. So blood type AB contains both antigen A and antigen B, whereas if you look at the plasma, there's no antibodies. Blood type O, they have no antigen. The surface is very smooth. There's no antigen in the surface. Whereas in the plasma, you'll find both the antibodies that are against antigen A and antigen B. So anti-A, anti-B antibodies. Now, one thing that I have to know is that when it comes to transfusion, one key concept that I want you guys to know is that in terms of the reaction that happens, the reaction tends to happen between the donor's antigen and the recipient antibodies. So you have to look on the recipient's antibodies and the donor's antigen. For instance, if you say blood type O is always regarded as a universal donor. In very many instances, I will go deeper on saying O negative, but for now, just know O is termed universal donor. Why? The reason why O is regarded as a universal donor is because it has no antigen. And remember, in transfusion, you look at the donor's antigen. So if this blood enters, when the blood enters the recipient, the antibodies of the recipient will not have an antigen to fight with or to react with, because the blood that is being administered lacks the antigen. It has no antigen. So this blood can be given to anyone. If you can go further, saying O negative is always a universal donor because they don't have any antigen. So if we have got an emergency and we don't have time for cross matching, we will give the client who needs the blood O negative blood. So that's the best blood that we can have in the banks, just in case of an emergency. When it comes to AB, we always regard this as a universal recipient, because remember when I said recipient, look at the antibody. So this recipient doesn't have an antibody. Yeah, so it means they can receive any blood. They can receive any blood because their plasma doesn't have any antibody to react with an antigen. So this type AB is always regarded as a universal recipient. To be more specific, I can say AB positive. So let's go and look at how we now can increase the number of blood type from 4 to 8 based on the rhesus pattern. So you can see in my diagram here, we have a rhesus pattern. Now, remember I told you guys that in my previous slide that we can have 4 major groups of blood cells. That's A, B, A, B, and O. But now, because of rhesus, we now expand these groups to 8. Now, why do we include the rhesus? Remember, we always have clients who are rhesus positive and rhesus negative. Now, let's denote each point. Our first point here, when you say rhesus positive, we mean that this gland has the rhesus. These glands have the rhesus antigen. So this antigen, we can call it the D antigen on the surface of the red blood cells. So the red blood cells can additionally have a rhesus antigen. So those glands who have got a rhesus antigen, we call them rhesus positive. On the other hand, those who lack the antigen, we call them the rhesus negative. Now, when it comes to antibody, those clans who have got this antigen, those clans who have got the rhesus antigen, they will not make any antibodies against it because they have the antigen with it. Yeah, the only group that makes the antibody are those clans who are rhesus negative, because when the rhesus negative receive an positive blood, their body will make antibodies against that antigen. So the only group of people who make the antibody against the rhesus antigen are those people who are rhesus negative. So rhesus positive individual, they always have the D antigen on the surface of the red blood cells, and normally they don't have any antibodies against the rhesus. They don't have any anti-D antibodies. The people who have anti-D antibodies are those clans who are rhesus negative, and they only have the antibodies only when exposed. So the antibodies are only made when exposed to positive blood. So you can see in this last point here, a rhesus negative individual lacks the D antigen, number 1. So these clans who are rhesus negative, they don't have the D antigen, and and also does not naturally possess anti-D antibodies. So unlike the ABO group, these clans, they don't naturally possess the anti-D. They only have it when exposed. So they can develop anti-D antibodies after exposure to rhesus positive blood. So they only develop these antibodies when exposed to a rhesus positive red blood cells. Yeah, and this tends to happen maybe during transfusion or during pregnancy. Now, this being said, so we can now denote the blood types based on the rhesus, and this will now create 8 groups. So we have got A positive. These are the blood group A who have got the rhesus antigen. Got the A negative. These are blood group A who lack the rhesus antigen. And same applies to blood group B, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative, O positive, and O negative. But then remember, in my previous slide, I told you guys that the AB positive is regarded as the universal recipient, and O negative is regarded as the universal donor. And why is this? I've explained to you guys that the AB positive, when it comes to transfusion, look at the recipient antibodies, because reaction tends to happen between the recipient antibody and the donor's antigen. So if the recipient doesn't have the antibody, there will be no reaction. So the only group that lacks the antibody is the AB positive. So the AB positive recipients, they don't have any antibody, so they won't react with any blood. Whereas when it comes to donor, look at the antigen. The O negative, they don't have any antigen on their red blood cell surface. So because they don't have any antigen, they can donate blood to anyone. Yeah. So that's something you have to know. So in reaction, look at the in reaction, look at the donor's antigen and the recipient antibody, and it will become easy for you to understand how this happens, or this cross matching happens. Now we have a table here. We're going to fill together. This is a red blood cell compatibility table. If you can see in this diagram of mine, we have got two sections. I've got in the X zone, or in the X axis, upper X axis, I've got the donor's blood group, and on the Y axis, you've got the recipient blood group. So you can see the donor's blood group here, which is O negative, O positive, A negative, A positive, B negative, B positive, AB negative, and AB positive. Now, if you look also on the recipient blood group, same applies. We've got O negative, O positive, A negative, A positive, B negative, B positive, AB negative, and AB positive. Now remember, we are going to fill this table using 4 rules. I'm going to create 4 rules. So we are going to use these 4 rules to fill this table together. So rule number 1, I told you guys that blood group O negative is universal donor. This means donor means donate, giving. Yeah. So it means that an O negative client can donate blood to anyone. So this is always the blood that is preferred in emergency situation, because remember, when you have got maybe massive road traffic accident, RTA clients, and they've lost a lot of blood and they need blood transfusion, sometimes you may not have enough time to do the cross matching. So the best option is to go for the blood that is available, and the best blood that you can go for here is O negative, because this is the best blood that can be donated. And I told you guys why, because it lacks an antigen. Remember, I told you guys in transfusion, look at donor's antigen and the recipient antibody. That's one of the rules that you're going to use to fill this table. But let's go back to rule number 1. Rule number 1 is that the blood group O negative is the universal donor. So that being said, I'm going to fill this table. Let's use the pen. Now we're going to fill this table together. So that being said, I'm going to use tick. Tick means accepted. X means not accepted. So that being said, I'm going to fill this table. It means O negative can give anyone the blood. This blood can be received by anyone. So that being said, I'm going to tick here across the table. So this one can be given to anyone. So anyone can receive this blood, because this blood lacks the antigen. So anyone can receive this blood. So I'll put tick across the column. So that's rule number 1. So using the rule number 1, we have filled this section of O negative, because O negative is a universal donor. Now, rule number 2 that you have to know is that AB positive is the universal recipient, because remember, I told you guys that in recipient, we look at the antibody. So AB positive, these clans, they do not make any antibody. They don't have any antibody, because they have all the antigens. So the body does not need to make any antibody against any antigen that they receive. So that being said, AB positive, they don't have antibodies to react with. Yeah. So they can receive any blood. They can receive any antigen. Yeah. So here I will put tick across the row AB, the row of AB. So they can receive any blood. They can receive blood from any donor. Any donor can give them their blood. So if the client is a non-AB positive, has an accident, needs an emergency blood, just use any blood in the bank, because they are universal recipient. AB positive, these clients are called universal recipient. So that's rule number 2. So rule number 3 is going to be a rhesus rule. How? I told you guys that there are sometimes we've got the rhesus antigen. Those clans who have got rhesus antigen, we call them the rhesus positive. Those who lack, we call them the rhesus negative. So the rhesus positive, they do not make any antibody against rhesus, because they have the antigen. Whereas on the other hand, because the rhesus negative lack the rhesus antigen, they will make a rhesus antibody when exposed to a rhesus positive blood. So that being said, we always tend to avoid giving the rhesus negative clients rhesus positive blood. So that being said, if you have a rhesus negative client, sorry, Why can I? Don't have. Do I have an eraser? How to erase this one? Just erase. Yeah, good. Now that being said, we are going to fill this section of negatives. Now, so O negative cannot receive, O negative as the recipient, because these clans are negative, they cannot receive, they should not be exposed to a rhesus positive blood, because they will make antibody against the rhesus antigen. So if you see an O negative recipient, those O negative recipient, any O negative, A negative, B negative, AB negative, if the client is rhesus negative, they should not be exposed to a rhesus positive blood. So we are going to use that rule to fill the section. And B, I want to go to note something. If the recipient is rhesus positive, they can receive rhesus negative blood. Yeah. So a rhesus positive patient can receive rhesus negative blood, but the vice versa cannot happen. A rhesus negative patient cannot receive rhesus positive blood. So I hope you're together. So if a client is rhesus positive as a recipient, he can receive negative. But if the client is negative, he cannot receive positive. So you're going to use that rule to fill the table. So if the client is negative, he should not receive any uh, rhesus negative, rhesus positive blood. So we're going to cancel all the positives. So this one uh, cannot be administered. Same with A positive. I'm going to cancel it out. Same with this one. I'm going to cancel it out. Same applies to AB positive. So X means they should not receive that blood. Same applies to A negative. They should not receive a positive blood. So a negative patient, a negative recipient should not receive a positive blood. So we're going to cancel out the positives in this table. So let's cancel out the positive. Same applies to this B negative. We remove the positives. They cannot receive positive blood because they will make antibodies against the positive. And lastly, the AB negative, we cancel it out. So X, I'll put an X. I'll put an X to this one. I'll put an X. And I'll put an X. So you have filled a section of this table. I hope you're together till there. Now, I want just bear with me. My pen is not so visible, and I'm using a mouse to fill it. So I hope you guys will understand. Now, that's our rule number 2. Rule number 3 now, we are going to use the law. So this is the fourth rule. The fourth rule, we are going to use the law of when it comes to donor, look at the antigen. When it comes to the recipient, look at the antibody. So if the recipient has got an antibody against that antigen, there will be a reaction. For instance, we know, you can see in this group, I've put the antibodies besides the antigens of the recipient blood group, because I want us to focus on this. Let's focus on these antibodies. Let's focus on the antibodies now. So in the last rule, we are going to focus on the antibodies. Let me just highlight it. Let me use another marker pen. Just remove it. Can it erase? Let me just erase. Sorry, erase here. Then I will use pen. I'm going to use red mark. I want us to focus. So if for the recipient, I want us to focus on the antibodies now. The last rule, focus on the recipient antibodies. Because when there's a reaction, what happens? When there's a reaction, the reaction tends to happen between the donor's antigen and the recipient antibodies. So that's something that I want you guys to note. Now we're going to focus on the recipient antibodies and the donor's antigen. So if you see, if the recipient has got antibody A, an antibody against A antigen, there will be a reaction, and that blood should not be administered. So for instance, if you see this blood group O negative has got both antibody A and antibody B. Antibody A, it means basically it's an antigen, it's an antibody against the A antigen. Antibody B, it means it's an antibody against the B antigen. So if you see this A, if you see this recipient has got antibody A, so that means that if there's an A antigen anywhere, there will be a reaction. So with this A, I'm going to cancel all A's. So this A, I'm going to cancel it. There will not be reaction here. And here also there's an A, so there won't be a reaction here. There will be a reaction here also. So we've canceled out that one. Next, we use the B to cancel out the B antigen. So B, cancel it out. There's a B here, so we cancel out this B because there will be a reaction. So using that formula, you have filled the upper section. So it means the O negative clans can only receive an O negative blood. Now let's go to the next one, O positive. Here we have got both the A antibody and the B antibody. So we're going to use the same scenario. Uh, let's cancel. So the A will cancel all the A. So here we'll cancel it out. A negative also we cancel it out because it has an A, and also AB has an A. We cancel it out because it has an A. AB also has an A, so we cancel it out. So number 2, then now we use the B. We cancel the B. No, B here, we have got the B here. So this B cancels out, and this B also cancels out. So we're left with O positive, and we know O positive also they match, they are compatible. So here we put a tick. So you fill that section. So that means that an O positive client can only receive blood so the O positive recipient can only receive blood from O negative, which is a universal donor, and O positive. Now let's go to the A negative. A negative use the B to cancel out. So this B will cancel out all the B's. So here we've got the B, we cancel out the B, and also remove this B because it contains the B antigen. So we're left with A negative. So A negative can receive blood from the A negative. That's automatically they match. So that blood can be received. So it means that the A negative can only receive blood from O negative and A negative. Next one, I've got the A positive. So this A positive has got the antibody B. So we go against any B antigen. So here we have a B. We cancel out the B. We have a B here. We cancel the B out. We have a B here in AB. So it will remove the B. We have got an AB in B here. So we remove this B. So this will be a reaction. So you're left with A negative and A positive. So we know this recipient can receive O positive automatically. He can receive A negative. He or she can receive also A positive. So you have filled those slots. Yeah, I believe you're together. Next, we have now, so it means the A positive recipient can receive an O negative blood. He can receive an O positive. He can receive A negative. He can receive A positive. Let's move to the B negative. B negative, they have an antibody against A antigen. So we're going to cancel out the A. So here you have the A. We're going to cancel out this A. Here we don't have an A. We have an A here. So remove this A. There will be a reaction. So left with B negative. So B negative also they match. So here there will be a tick because they match. So the B negative can only receive blood from O negative and B negative. Let's move to the B positive. B positive, it also has got an antibody against A antigen. So this A is going to cancel out all the A antigen. So here we've got an A. So we can cancel out the A. Here also we've got the A. We remove the A, cancel out the A. B positive doesn't have AB, it has an A. So we're going to cancel out. They'll react. AB positive also has got an A, so they will react. So you're left with the 4 slots. So it means B positive can receive from O negative, he can receive from O positive, he can receive from B negative, he can receive from B positive. So that's how we feel it. Now let's go to the AB negative. AB negative, we know these clans do not have any antibody. So the slots remaining, they can receive blood from the remaining slots. So here is a tick, here is a tick, and here is a tick. So we have used the 4 rules to fill this table. So the rule number 1, O negative. So we have used 4 rules to completely fill this table. It was very easy. So rule number 1, O negative is universal donor. Rule number 2, AB positive is universal recipient. You can see. Rule number 3, RSS negative recipient can never receive blood, should not be exposed to RSS positive blood. Using that phenomenon, you're going to cancel out the positive. So for instance, O negative cannot receive a positive blood. So positive will cancel out. The positives will cancel out. Same applies to A negative. The positives will cancel out. The positives will cancel out. Same applies to B negative and also AB negative. That's rule number 3. Rule number 4, when it comes to reaction, it happens between the recipient antibody and the donor's antigen. So using that rule, we have failed the remaining slots, and that will give us this amazing table. So from this amazing table, you can see, if you just, for instance, let's just pick a blood group. If someone is blood group B negative. So for B negative, you just these clans can only receive O negative and B negative. Another blood group, just pick a random blood group. Let's just pick maybe A positive. If you go for A positive, it means this clan can receive O negative. yeah, O positive, A negative, A positive, and only those four. Then something that you have to note is that for those clans who are negative, if the recipient is negative, if the recipient is positive, like O positive, A positive, B positive, they can receive blood from a negative donor. Yeah, so that's not that can be done. But for when it comes to negative, they cannot receive blood from a positive donor. So you have to note that difference. I think you can move on. We are almost done. I think I've spent a lot of time. Now, let's just summarize. So you have looked at the key principles. You have looked at the universal donor. You have said blood type O positive. So yes, I should add type O positive. So when it comes to there's key rules for transfusion that I've explained already. So this is just a summary that you can just look at your own free time. But now you have got something called the red blood cell transfusion that I've explained, and you also have something called plasma transfusion. So I want you guys to note the difference. Now, I've explained the key rules when it comes to red blood cell transfusion. When it comes to universal donor, blood type O positive is blood type O negative is regarded as the universal donor. Blood type O negative. So O negative is referred to as the universal donor. Why? Because these clans, they don't have any antigen. They lack antigen, either A or B, or the rhesus antigen in their surface. And because they don't have, and because they lack antigen, anyone can receive that blood. Because remember, the reaction that occurs is between the donor's antigen and the recipient antibody. So if you give someone a blood that lacks an antigen, there will be no reaction because there's no antigen to react with. On the other hand, when it comes to universal recipient, AB positive is regarded as the universal recipient. Why? It's because they lack antibodies. They don't have any antibodies in their plasma. So that being said, these clans can receive any antigen, any blood type. They can receive any blood type because they don't have antibodies to react with a foreign antigen. So that's what I mean here. They lack the antibodies to react with the donor's antigen. So when it comes to rhesus rule, just note the rhesus sensitization. We know the only group that produces the antibodies when it comes to rhesus are the rhesus negative, and they only expose and they only produce the antibodies when exposed to rhesus antigen. So when not exposed, they don't produce. They only produce when exposed to. This may happen during a transfusion or during pregnancy, and that's why for those people who have worked who have dealt with pregnant women, we know that for those mothers who are rhesus negative, we always give them a rogam injection. We also call it anti-D injection at 28 weeks and within 72 hours after birth. So that is what I'm trying to say, is because when a mother is rhesus negative, he may be exposed. He may be exposed to a rhesus positive blood when he has a fetus in the womb. So that's something that you have to note. Number two, the same. So using the same scenario when it comes to plasma transfusion, maybe giving a fresh frozen plasma, the opposite tends to happen. Now, remember in our first slide, I told you guys that the universal donor is. Remember in the first slide, I told you guys that the antibodies are always found in the plasma. So when it comes to plasma transfusion, we look at the antibodies. For instance, universal donor. Universal donor will be type AB. Why? Because type AB lacks the antibodies. They don't have the antibodies. So when it comes to plasma transfusion, the vice versa happens, whereby the universal donor now will become the type AB, because type AB, they don't have the plasma. They don't have the antibodies in their plasma. They don't have antibodies in their plasma. So that's something that I have to note. So type AB plasma is termed as universal donor because it contains no antibody A or antibody B antibodies. So their plasma lacks the antibodies. So it's a very good plasma to give. On the other hand, universal recipient is type O. Why? Because type O, they don't have an antigen. So they can receive any plasma. Because even when the plasma contains antibodies, they will not have an antigen to react with. So blood type O is universal recipient when it comes to plasma transfusion, and blood type AB is termed universal donor when it comes to plasma transfusion. I hope you're together. So that's something that you have to know. So this section is not well known because it's not commonly set in exam, but you should know it may come maybe in your exam. So you have to note that difference is that when it comes to plasma transfusion, the universal donor changes. Now the universal donor will be the type AB, and universal recipient will be type O. So I believe we are together. So this all about transfusion. This is our last section. Thank you for spending time with us during this time, understanding this red blood cell compatibility. So if you are new to our channel, please, we have got very many videos, educative videos. We did a series on antibiotics and hypertension and antihypertensive. At your own free time, go and check our previous episodes. So if you've got any question in regards to this video, I advise you to put a comment on the comment section in the YouTube section. And also, if you want us to discuss a new topic, please recommend it to us, because this topic also a student recommended us to deal with this topic. So if you want us to deal with a topic, please just post in our pages. It can be either in our comment section in YouTube, or you can even post in our Twitter section or IG or TikTok. So the aim is just to reach or to have a forum whereby we can discuss various medical topics. So if it's something new that you want us to discuss, please don't shy. Just let us know. So thank you guys for this time. Please support our channel. Share the video, and if there's something that you have listened that is contradictory, please, you are free to comment on the comment section, because this is a learning platform. We are here to learn together. So thank you for your time, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Thank you. Bye. Mhm.